You have to deliver this type of stuff within 2 weeks, though. You should have that data within the first 2 weeks. Otherwise, what are you doing? The report helps you identify any jobs where something is not going as it should so that you can actually drill down and figure out what is it, because it's always going to be different for every single one. It can be just you might not be conveying the right things, you might not be targeting the right people, or the job specs and the opportunity itself might not be appealing to the market. If that is the case, then you want to bring this back to the clients as soon as possible and really gather all of that feedback, put it together. You don't want this sitting, because otherwise...
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenly. Welcome back to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond seeing what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today we've got a great Tactical Tuesday episode ahead of us, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show here. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, while other days we cover things like trending topics. Stop by every Tuesday like today for a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something so we're going to help you drive better results in your day-to-day. Some days we open up for Q&A, and occasionally you get a mic drop episode from Matt where he shares something he's been thinking about in the recruitment space and wants you to know. Now, as a reminder, if you like the content that we share here on the show, make sure that you subscribe for more. All right, today's Tactical Tuesday. Do you know what's going on within your business? Like really know what's going on within it at a data level. So data, reporting, visibility, these are topics that we're asked about countless times per day from recruiters, from our customers. Things like, what dashboards should we use? What data should we be looking at? What's important to measure daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly? And so today we're going to have part one of a two-part series on data and reporting. And for this one, we're going to go deep on overall client health and what reports you should be creating and reviewing to stay informed and ahead of the game. So here to chat through that with us is your favorite Tactical Tuesday co-host, Vivien. Vivien, welcome back.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. It's raining here.
It's raining. We were talking about how glad I am that my front yard is finally getting some rain, and we had a good laugh.
Yep.
But yes, anyway. Overall client health. Reporting, data, dashboards. Yeah, so you had some thoughts that you were messaging me about with this. So yeah, just give me the quick TLDR. Why do you want to cover this? Why do you think this is something that more recruiters should be paying attention to?
I think it's super underrated just because and it's something that a lot of people aren't really paying attention to, but they're asking about it because it's a need. And it's really just making sure like your clients are doing well. And so part of that is seeing, okay, what are the active recs? And I'm just going to dive right into it. You want to see how many recs are open and by client, so that you can see, does one client have multiple recs open, or do you guys have like a lot of clients with just one rec each, so that you kind of have like a picture of what's even going on. So that's report number one. Report number two is you want to see how long have your jobs been open. So a lot of times the longer a job is open, the more likely it is things are starting to get frustrating and things like that. When by the time that an external recruiter gets looped into a search, no matter what, it's because internal resources have already been exhausted, which means they've already been looking internally, didn't get that filled, so they're going to an external expert to help with that. And if it's been, let's say, more than 30 days and nobody has even been submitted, it's a little bit tricky. Granted, with executive search, those timelines might be a little bit different, but even with an executive search, you are expected to at least deliver some kind of like market feedback and profile within 3 weeks of starting the search, if not even initial submittals of these are the type of profiles that we're targeting. Like you should be delivering something. And if nothing is getting delivered within the first 30 days, that's going to be a problem. For agencies, I would probably move this closer to 14 days, especially if you, like, as an agency, you're supposed to specialize. You're supposed to have like a specialty that you're known for. And if that's really the case, why does it take you longer to deliver that? And so having metrics that really look at how long has this job been open? If it's been open since November, it's May, guys. Why is a job that was open in November still open? Like that requires a conversation. Something needs to change because obviously something is going very, very wrong with that particular search. And you have to do a deep dive, but you don't really know, you don't see it if you're just looking at the list of jobs that are currently open. It doesn't stand out to you like that. Like you might be like, oh yeah, I know this job. It's been around for a while. But unless you really see it, hey, this job is from November, then all the jobs November from December, January, even February are already closed, and we just have March, April, May open. That makes sense. We're recording this at the beginning of May, so in that case, it makes sense. November jobs, that's a problem, but you have to see that, and for that, you need a report.
So with the visual for that, so I'm going straight to visuals because I'm a visual kind of person. I love dashboards. It's my happy place. Are you doing like a bar graph, for example, where it's every job and it's like the age is the y-axis of like the larger the bar, the more you need to be on top of it? Are you doing it by create month where you're looking at like total number of jobs in this, but like, hey, there's still this active job that's like, I mean, you those listening aren't going to be able to see me drawing this curve, but you should see this like steadily sloping upward curve where the more recent the calendar month, the more active jobs you should be working. Hypothetically, if you're going further backwards to the left on that curve, you shouldn't have any after a certain point to your what you were saying earlier. So like, how do you set up this visuals usually?
Yeah, so on the horizontal line, you want that to be date created or date opened by month so that you can see what month the jobs were created and how many are in each month. So on the x-axis, you essentially want the dates so that you can see a timeline essentially. From on the left, you will see the oldest jobs. On the right, you see the newest jobs that you probably don't need to worry about just yet. And then you, in terms of on the y-axis, you want to see the number of jobs that were opened are still active so that you can see how big is the bar graph. It really, nothing should even exist from last year now that we're in May. And then everything else, like the closer you get to today on the right, that should be taller because then you're getting more new recs and everything's going well. And in Loxo, you can actually segment, and this is where I would segment by job or by company, just to see what jobs are still like very old that are in danger of aging out. But you also want to segment it by company in case you have one client that has a very, very old job. And like in general, like what are the trends across the clients that you are actively servicing? Because if you have one client that has a lot of old jobs, the client might be the problem and you have to figure something out with that. If there's an odd job out and other than that all the jobs are getting closed, everything is good, that's okay. It's still a yellow flag. And so you would set it up as in Loxo, it would be a job performance report, and on the grouping would be by date, by month. It does that by default. And then in the upper right corner, you're going to want to group that by job or by company.
Okay. I like it. I'm visualizing all this in my head. For those of you who can't see me right now, my eyes are going back and forth, looking upward as I'm thinking about this. Okay, I like that one. Any others?
So that's that one. And then you also want to have like an actual specific, you want two like really specific reports. The first, or like, sorry, like the first specific report, but second report on this list is going to be, you want to see all the jobs where no submittal has happened within the last 30 days. Because if a job has been opened and you are still sourcing candidates and there are no submittals and the job was opened in the last like 14 to 30 days ago, you got to get on top of that. Something needs to happen. You need to put a little bit more priority on there. Otherwise, you're going to lose that search altogether. And if you end up putting more resources into that particular job, let's say 2 weeks from now, 1 week from now, it's already too late because it's been 3 to 4 weeks since the job has opened and no submittals have happened. It's a bad first impression. Even if you've already worked with this particular client before, it's a bad first impression on that particular job, and it's just going to put a sour taste in their mouth, and it's going to be painful moving forward. Rarely works out really well. So that's that one. And then another one that specifically just looks at like the filter is set for jobs that have been opened 90 plus days ago, so that you are really keeping an eye on those. So you want to see, like, the first one that we talked about is just a general overview of what are my active jobs, how long have they been open, just that general info and snapshot of what is your potential future revenue doing and how is it doing. And then you want to really specifically focus on the ones that are in the early stages. Have there been submittals, and what are the jobs that have been open for, let's say, like, it should be like 2/3 of whatever your average time to fill is. So if your average time to fill is like closer to like 90, you want to start keeping an eye on the jobs that are like 75 days plus open. And so depending on what your average time to fill is, you want to keep an eye on those that are like approaching it.
Okay. On that first one, are you using that as a feedback loop? So like, 14 to 30 days, and are you looking at it as is this a me thing, or is this a potential like job wreck thing? I.e., have I just flat out not sourced enough people, not spent enough time in this? Or am I getting responses, but it's like, I haven't heard great things about that company. That comp's too low. I don't want that title. Like, are you looking at it that point as a feedback mechanism too, to understand, like, is it a me, or is this a conversation I need to have with the hiring org?
1000%. The report helps you identify any jobs where something is not going as it should, so that you can actually drill down and figure out what is it, because it's always going to be different for every single one. It can be just, you might not be conveying the right things, you might not be targeting the right people, or the job specs and the opportunity itself might not be appealing to the market. If that is the case, then you want to bring this back to the clients as soon as possible and really gather all of that feedback, put it together. You don't want this sitting, because otherwise you have to, if you have that info, you have to tell the hiring team so that they can potentially adjust it, so that you can still submit candidates within those first 2 to 3 weeks of having the job open. If you are sourcing and you're not giving them that feedback, they don't know that this is happening. They don't know that it's the market feedback. So they're just thinking you're not working on it. It's really not a priority, and you're just all talk. You don't want that. As soon as you are starting to notice a pattern, double down on that pattern, get the data to really send that to the client and be like, guys, this is the type of people that we have been profiling, and anonymize their profile so that it's confidential, and say, these are the types of people that we're profiling. The feedback that we're getting from these types of people is XYZ. So we need to figure out, are these the right people, or are we off the mark? Or if these are the perfect people, what can we do to actually make this an attractive offer for the type of people that you're looking for? You have to deliver this type of stuff within 2 weeks, though. If you should have that data within the first 2 weeks. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, and then you've got one other report.
Yeah, and that one was mainly just like the old jobs, and the old jobs are really just anything that is like starting to approach your average time to fill, just so that you can keep an eye on, are there any searches that are stuck in the middle? So we covered what are the jobs that are stuck in the early part, where you're sourcing and you're not engaging and sending the right candidates over just yet. But you also want to take a look at what are the jobs where interviews are happening but offers aren't coming through. If there's been 20 people that have interviewed and no offers coming through, that's a problem in of itself. And the best way to identify that is by looking at jobs that are approaching that average time to fill that you expect across the team, because that is also bad. So you want to look at it at the front end, anything that is kind of like within your control, which is that front end of finding, identifying, and sending those over. But once they have been sent over, this is where it's a little bit out of your control of how quickly or slowly hiring managers are acting on that information. But you still need to keep an eye on this, because ultimately, even though them acting slowly or not taking action, not giving you the right feedback is on them, they're going to project this onto you as the agency. You didn't work well with them. You have to take a step back and figure out what is going on. What do we need to do to actually deliver? We have the same exact goal, but we seem to be kind of like not getting anywhere close to the finish line. What do we need to do to adjust it? And you have to identify those, because a lot of times recruiters will say, oh yeah, I have like 3 interviews lined up for this job. And to a recruiting manager, that sounds great. Oh, 3 interviews are happening for this job. That looks like the job is heading in the right direction. But if this is another 3 on top of the 15 interviews that have already happened, and I'm not saying like rounds, but candidates that have been interviewed, that's a problem that we need to start taking a look at. And the only way to identify that is to look at jobs that are approaching that average time to fill date rate. Yeah.
This has me thinking things I wish I did better. Well, I know I'm going to do better now after this. So thank you for sharing all these. Love it. Well, Viv, as always, I truly appreciate you coming to join for this and share the wisdom. So again, it's part 1 of 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you have for us next week.
Stay tuned.
All right. Well, as we wrap, Becoming a Hiring Machine is a production of Loxo. If you like this episode, you're not sure where to go next, we have a link to a similar one, and you can find those in the show notes within the description of your favorite podcast streaming platforms, as well as our website. We do have full video episodes available on YouTube. If you ever have questions, send them our way, podcast@loxo.co. And lastly, if you love this episode, please make sure to leave us a quick rating in your podcast streaming platform. It only takes you 3 seconds, and it's going to help other recruiters like you to find us. So, all right, everyone, that's the show. That's another great Tactical Tuesday with Vivien. Until next time, bye, y'all.